Now, all the very latest from your part of the world with the ITV Evening News.
Tonight, a close call for commuters. 2 people are injured as a train derails during the morning rush hour, stopping just metres before the ticket office.
We just heard a bang and I said to them, would you please, anyone who's got nothing to do with the train, get out.
Also tonight, another COVID cancellation. London's famous fireworks display is axed for the 2nd year running, despite restrictions ending. And
Peckham is a new beginning.
The hub and heart of the black community. Peckham is bold, it's lively, Peckham is fun, Peckham is big.
Forget dinner parties in Chelsea or nights out in Essex. We meet the stars of London's latest reality show. Good evening. 2 people were injured when a train crashed through barriers at Enfield Station during rush hour today. The overground service came off the tracks at just after 8 a.m, stopping short of hitting the ticket office wall. 50 people had to be evacuated from the train. Transport for London has started an investigation, as Simon Harris reports.
When the 745 from Liverpool Street failed to stop at the end of the line, it crashed into the buffers and rose into the air. And there the rush hour train sat, perched at the end of platform 2 at Enfield Town, with the roof of the leading carriage perilously close to the 25,000-volt overhead power line. Mehmet, who runs a minicab firm, heard the crash from his office in the station and helped evacuate the concourse.
I just opened the door, have a look at it. I've seen what I've seen. A lot of the people was gathering out here, coming inside, and I said to them, would you please, anyone who's got nothing to do with the train, get out and clear the area for the emergency services. And that's what I did.
Amazingly, no passengers were seriously hurt. There were just 2 minor injuries, including the driver who was treated for shock. Transport for London says the train was travelling at around 7 miles an hour, little more than walking pace, when it hit the buffers. It came to a stop just feet from the glass wall of the ticket office. It's one of a fleet of new trains which began to appear on London Overground in 2019.
I've spoken to TfL. This was an Arriva train, London Overground. The Rail Investigations Bureau will be undertaking an inquiry. Thankfully, there aren't the sort of casualties we could have had.
As crash investigators tried to figure out why it happened, passengers turning up at Enfield Town found themselves stuck.
I've got to go to court, I've got to be there in 30 minutes, so looks like I'm not going to make it.
Obviously there's no trains going back to where I want to go, so it's a bit difficult.
I just find out now.
And you can't get where you're going?
No, not at all.
Engineers plan to use hydraulic jacks to lift the train from the buffers before lowering it back onto the track. If it all goes to plan, the station will reopen tomorrow morning. Simon Harris, ITV News, Enfield.
He's retiring from Daily News.
Next, the failures in protecting Londoners during the early stages of the pandemic were laid out in damning detail today. MPs released their first major report into the government's response. It found that not locking down sooner was a serious error. Discharging hospital patients into care homes alone cost thousands of lives, calling the response the worst public health failure ever. There was praise for the vaccine rollout that followed, and for the families here in the capital who lived through the trauma. There are still questions to answer.
Presenting the show since it started in 1983.
160,000 hearts opposite Parliament, one for each COVID death.
He was like a people magnet, you know, people were really drawn to him.
Monday will be the anniversary of Steve Mead's death, killed by COVID just 3 weeks after marrying Fran. She blames the government for letting the virus rip.
Most of the population realised that there was something awful coming and started reacting to it before the government finally got round to doing what they did. Too late.
The first coronavirus case in the capital was mid-February. Modelling by Imperial College London recommended a lockdown on the 16th of March.
The time has now come for us all to do more.
But it wasn't brought in for another week.
We locked down too late, and if we'd locked down even a week or two earlier, we would have saved many lives.
That's the finding of a report by MPs which says troubles with testing, PPE, care home security and initial advice to go for herd immunity made the UK's early response one of the worst public health failures ever.
We're sorry for the suffering that the country suffered, and we've committed to an inquiry to ensure that the right lessons are learned from the pandemic. But at the same time, we acted throughout on the basis of the scientific advice, and we saved lives in particular through the fast deployment of the vaccine.
One other conclusion was the unacceptably high death rate amongst black, Asian and minority ethnic people. Lobby's dad Femi died in April last year.
Reasons given for maybe like higher rates of transmission is because people of colour live in higher density populations. But that was presented almost as if it was a cultural choice and not a consequence of the society that we live in.
Solving that is an even bigger challenge in London than sourcing PPE or testing turned out to be.
We've got to deal with the inequalities in London, the inequalities in social and living conditions that are driving inequalities in health. Levelling up, there's a good idea. We could have levelling up in London.
16,525 Londoners have died within 28 days of testing positive for COVID. The Prime Minister has promised a full inquiry starting in the spring. Martin Stew, ITV News.
A radio DJ has said she was sexually harassed by the killer of Sarah Everard, only to be laughed at by officers. Emma Wilson, who works for Magic FM, made the claims on a radio show. She said she was flashed by former officer Wayne Couzens back in 2008. The Met Police have confirmed they are investigating the case. A £20,000 reward is being offered for help in finding the killers of a man who died in a suspected homophobic attack. Ranjith Kankamalwagay, known to friends as Roy, was killed in Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park last month. Well, our senior correspondent Ronke Phillips joins me now. Ronke, take us through this.
Yes, well, Ranjith, as you say, known by everyone who knew him as Roy, 50 years old, on the 16th of August this year, he was viciously attacked in that cemetery in Tower Hamlets. Now, detectives quickly identified this as a homophobic hate crime, and today they released CCTV images of the two men they want to talk to. Police say at this stage the men are witnesses and not suspects.
At this stage, we need to understand what their role was. We need to understand what information they could give us. What I would say is that any information coming forward from the community, either by these two men or other people that know what happened, we need to understand, we need to listen to that information, and then we can make a judgment about how important it is.
Ronke, what effect has Roy's murder had on the local gay community?
Well, the attacks left the local LGBTQ community pretty unsettled. Tonight there's a vigil at the cemetery in memory of Roy. And even though the latest figures show that the number of hate crimes across the UK is at its record high, in London, homophobic hate crime is actually down. Police are working on the case, offering this £20,000 reward, and they're hoping that that reward, coupled with the CCTV, will lead to this case being solved.
OK, Ronke, thank you for that update.
Thanks very much for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
London's famous firework display on the Thames has been cancelled for the second year running, with continued concerns around coronavirus. Despite restrictions ending, officials say there is still too much uncertainty around the pandemic. Rags Martel has more.
This won't be happening again. For a second year in a row, the New Year fireworks by the South Bank have been cancelled by COVID.
Gutted.
Why gutted?
Because it's nice to see.
You thought it might come back now that COVID restrictions are being lifted, but sad though. It is sad.
That's devastating.
Devastated?
Yes.
Why?
It's pretty exciting, flashy.
Uncertainty caused by COVID is the official reason being given for the cancellation. While the fireworks won't be happening here, the Mayor of London says he's still planning to welcome in the new year in a spectacular way. It'll just be somewhere else. London's 2021 celebrations were officially cancelled, but a firework display took place away from the public at the O2 and Tower Bridge.
Good evening. Britain is facing
this year's cancellation goes against Sadiq Khan's drive to get people out and about in the capital. But like the Euros, a big event is being planned in Trafalgar Square, with further details to be confirmed later. Brad Martell,
Outbreak began
ITV News.
overseas, some in the UK.
Well, as we wait for those details, in the last few minutes, the business group London First gave us a statement saying the cancellation is a real shame, and that is the update from them. Now, suddenly starting to feel autumnal out there with temperatures dropping today. Here's Manali Luca with the forecast for the rest of the week.
That it might lead to more people choosing to
making the most of it, whatever the weather.
Here.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Hello there, good evening to our weather. Looks fairly quiet and settled as we head through the rest of this week. It's mostly dry, but often cloudy. Now, the settled conditions, all courtesy of high pressure, dominating our weather this week. But it's not a straightforward story. Some weather fronts toppling in over that high pressure. The first tonight will bring us some outbreaks of rain for a time. That clears through. Then Wednesday and Thursday, mostly dry until the end of the week. Another cold front to move down from the north. It pushes through Friday morning, and we might just see a bit of rain first thing on Friday. Now, back to the here and now. Some outbreaks of rain as we head through the course of tonight. Perhaps a few heavy bursts in there. But we end the night mostly dry, fairly cloudy skies. But there will be some clear breaks, especially out towards the east. Here, our temperatures will turn pretty chilly. Elsewhere, under that cloud cover, we'll see our temperatures generally hold up. So into tomorrow, not a bad day overall. Mostly dry. There'll be some breaks in the cloud to give us a little bit of brightness here and there. But don't rule out the odd isolated shower as we head through into the afternoon. But for most, it stays dry. Our temperatures tomorrow afternoon reaching highs of 16, 17 degrees Celsius. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
And finally, move over Del Boy, Trigger and Boise TV cameras are about to make some real-life characters the stars of Peckham. A new reality show starts next week, giving us a glimpse of one of London's liveliest neighbourhoods, one that has changed hugely in the last decade. As Antoine Allen has been finding, Peckham's Finest is all about influencers, artists, DJs, and with even the brother of Olympic BMX biker Kai White among the cast, there's not a dodgy suitcase in sight.
Peckham is a new beginning.
There's a new reality TV show in town.
It's lively, Peckham is fun.
Local stars will be a part of the observational documentary, which will put the borough in the national spotlight.
Hi, my name is Trey White. I'm a professional BMX racer. There's a lot of talent, a lot of positivity, big community in Peckham, and now it's not that it's only now being showcased. It's been being showcased, but now on television, we're actually really showing you every week. You can see it.
And these are this evening's main stories.
I'm an influencer and body confidence coach.
Strictly no.
My grandma's going to get to watch it.
And before we start this evening,
and I love just being part of something revolutionary. An all-black cast, reality show. We know that sometimes those can go down a bit of a bad route with the drama and all that stuff.
Just at the moment,
this positive, good vibes, good energy, beauty. Do you know what I mean? Look at me. Look at me. Zoom in on me.
I'm Ida. I am a model and a student. Everyone's got something like so special about them, I find, and it's such like a kind of cliche thing to say, but then when you're actually experiencing it and you're like with all these people and doing all these things.
I'm Mark Ashley Dupay and I'm a DJ across the country. I feel like a lot of people associate it with like gang violence or Damiola Taylor, and I feel like it's time to kind of like change that narrative. Like there's so many amazing young black and brown kids doing amazing things in the area.
My name is Kel Flagg, Kevin Flagg. We are the Flag Twins and we are multi-talented artists. I want them to actually understand that Peckham is a hustling and bustling community with honestly some amazing people, you know, with real stories, more so towards hope as well. You know. What I want people from more so like the national areas of the country to take from it is much more, you know, London as a whole, one city, but most importantly, Peckham is a hub for that creativity, for that, you know, energetic kind of vibe.
Peckham's Finest will be airing on ITV2 and ITV Hub from the 20th of October. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
And that is it. Slightly less from us tonight because of the football, but Mary is here next with the evening news. Bye for now.